That's a great question to remember what the bus terminal was. I came to Kitchener 7 years ago, and I don't drive, so the bus terminal was very important for me. I found myself encountering every person from every walk of life. We were all collectively waiting for a bus to take us to wherever we were all going.
The Charles Street Terminal for me was really about transfers. Where are you gonna go next? How are we gonna go home?
Standing in line back there in all types of weather, catching a bus. So for me, it was like this place of like connection. To go home, to see my family, to go visit friends, to be around people that I care about, right? So for me, it was like a lot of memories, good memories.
To some people, it's still that gathering point. To some people, it's still the space that we come together because we don't have any other place for shelter, or we come together because it is that place that we remember, that memory is tied to, that relationships are tied to.
For me, it's where I fostered a lot of my friendships outside of school and work. A lot of the time I would go there and I would like meet people who were waiting for a bus, and we were going the same route. So like we would see each other very often.
So I came to KW for university and was living up in Waterloo, but would always have to go through the Charles Street Terminal to get on a GO bus to go home to Toronto. And so it was kind of my first introduction because I would have to take the transit to come down here. It was kind of a interesting way of seeing a city that I didn't have a lot of experience with.
Me and that terminal were good friends, to say the least. I will say that I've used that terminal for at least maybe 20 years.
Just kind of thinking back on it, the terminal was a spot where I was able to grow up and become more familiar with my community and feel safe almost. Because at a time I was afraid of downtown when I didn't live in the area. I was encouraged to be here and see people, see familiar faces, and it was a center point, and I felt really rooted at Charles Street Terminal.
I took the Greyhound bus here, and I remember when getting off the bus, this terminal was filled with people going to school, coming from school, going to university, going to work, coming from work. And it reminded me of a place where I felt safe.
It'd be sort of like a middle point between like where I live and like my space, and then like community spaces where I could be with getting involved with the Indigenous community, which was like a big part of what happened when I moved here, when I started going to school and everything. So I guess that's maybe like an interesting way I sort of thought of it.
I would actually take the bus with this one who was in a stroller. And I would come to the terminal every day and transfer and take them to daycare. But coming to the terminal in particular, I would actually get off. I would go past my stop even to get off here at the terminal. The cafe offered such a great place for me to sit with Sky in the stroller. They had great fries and gravy. Their coffee was good. I did a lot of readings here in the terminal. If I hadn't had that extra time to sort of unwind in this space, I probably wouldn't have finished my degree.
Charles Street Terminal, to me, has always been a place where I know what I'm coming back to.
The memories kind of shifted where I would go visit family, and then it felt like I was coming home when I was arriving at the terminal.
It was just like a thing that was in our lives that we took for granted, but growing up with it, always knew it as a place of transportation and like a place of communication, a place where people could meet up and have conversations, find each other, find their way homes, charge their phones, hang out, just sit. It was always a place like if I could get to the Charles Terminal, I was going to be safe.
Like there's also the Latin American store across the street, so we would go there pretty often, and I'd look out to see all the buses passing by. So having that space as a landmark in my childhood, something that we'd be getting closer to and recognizing it as a place of community adjacent.
I have a huge connection to the bus terminal because when I first came to Canada, I used to, that was my place.
For me, I think that's one of the few places I knew about. In Kitchener, the first time I came to Canada, it just reminds me of those moments I had with my friends, and it was an important space for me.
Basically, since my family immigrated to Canada, we've been taking the bus at different times, and I've taken it all through high school. And then when I started university, I also took the bus, and I was at the terminal basically every day. And it was a really a central location in the city where I spent quite a lot of time.
Charles Street, I think, was a definitely interesting terminal, connecting with different buses and whatnot. I know a few times I've had to run from the ticket counter here to get on the GO bus and whatnot, and a lot of good memories here.
The terminal had so many different people. You had people who were going to work, some people who were, coming into the region. It was really nice to kind of get a sense of what the region was like on day one, and I think the terminal really gave a good insight into what I would be seeing in the community.
And what do we imagine, huh? What do we imagine this space should be? It should stay with the community, don't you think? Yeah? Kids still come here and hang out and gather with people. I imagine it to be a space connected to Victoria Park, which has historically been a gathering space for First Nations people. So to continue that sort of communal building of relationships and fostering relationships, new relationships, is so important for the downtown community.
I feel like the location of the terminal, it's right in the middle of everything, and it's just a really great spot to put something that brings people together.
And there are people in the community that are really working hard to create organizations and initiate gatherings, but they don't seem to have a physical space to house that. I think that when I think about the Charles Street bus terminal actually being, as a space of transit and exchange of people and bodies and movement, to me, the natural evolution of that is to give that over to community space.
It would be awesome if it became a green space, a spot where people could hang out and socialize and kind of build on the ethos of what it was before, an intersection for people.
If I was to envision a purpose for this space that was grounded in community, first and foremost, it would have to be grounded to the needs of the community. What is it that they need? And we've been hearing things from the ground, and those needs revolve around a reclamation of land, a restoration of relationships on that land, and a demonstration of justice that's grounded in community and driven by community. This space needs to be a community gathering point like it once used to be, but it will look different. It will look different because the community looks different.
As a Taiwanese trans femme, I really wish to reimagine the space as a safe cultural space for Black and Indigenous racialized folks.
A space like that should be there. It should be there to help people or be accessible instead of sort of just becoming something less accessible, less helpful, I guess.
Cool, yeah, I'd love to see a safe consumption site. I think that'd be excellent and a good use of space.
Just walking around this park and enjoying the space that's public space. We don't have a lot of that, and so I think seeing more spaces like that are for the community and for us to access and for other people to access, that we can all build more relationships together.
No longer having the bus terminal, then there's no question in my mind that this should be a continuation of a community space, a family space, where it can take on a different form of bringing urban people together in a community space, bringing urban Indigenous people together as a form of true reconciliation, in a sense that means giving land back.
People want to be around other people. That's so important, that human connection piece, right? My vision, to be honest, is to see it become a building for the Black, Indigenous, racialized grassroots community to come together, to have our own office space, to have our own gathering space. We're a growing city, and everyone's fighting for space. And I think it's so important that this piece of land remain a space for the community.
You know, there's a lot of potential for the terminal to be something as simple as a staging site for construction, or another 50% vacant, residential building, but it's just not the best use of space. We have to think of things in a way that that puts the terminal right in the middle of how we're actually thinking of the culture that we're forming in this city.
I think it should remain a space for the community, just because I feel like the city needs to get more creative on using things rather than just being so quick to tear them down when they've outgrown their use. I think there's many things we can still do with the terminal. Really don't want to see it just torn down just to build another condo and help some Joe Blow down the street make some more money off of rental property. I think that when something's a pivotal part of the community, it should remain. And
seeing that place turn into economical development, condos, it doesn't suit well for me, because I need that place. We need many more places to serve the community. We don't need more condos.
And we've seen more and more condos coming up, and we're sort of losing community. And if we lose that space again to another condo, I think we're pretty devastating.
We are obviously in the middle of an affordable housing crisis, and that's crucial.
The other day I saw a stat that Kitchener-Waterloo has the fastest growing rent in all of the country, which was shocking. Maybe something along the lines of mixed use, where you have affordable housing in the center here with green space for gardening and
kind of a vision I would have is probably I would say affordable apartments and a community center, kind of a combo.
I think the one thing moving out from the East Coast is, especially Fredericton, where I'm from, was that there were a lot of Indigenous buildings and people and businesses, and I don't see any of that here. And honestly, that's the biggest thing I think this community is missing.
There's not really a big building that's a safe place for Indigenous people, my family, even just people that get marginalized or anything. It would just be a really nice thing to see if it could be a helpful building, a communicational rec center for everybody who needs it.
That's great.
That's all I got.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I would want to see this space crowded with people who believe in change, people who want to fight, people who want to create a world where everybody feels validated, feels seen, feels heard. And that is community. This is a vast area of space that can be used, a place where everybody can learn, everybody can live, everybody can grow, and all of us together can heal and take an opportunity to give space, because we are all taking up so much of it. What does it mean for us to move past towards a space of solidarity, towards a space of growth? And that is what I reimagine this space as being, as a safe house, a space reimagined for me to feel okay, to be here, to find company, to feel home.